Good afternoon and welcome to 𝗓𝗫 Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by 𝗓𝗫 and Middle East AI News, part of 𝗓𝗫 AI Week. Ahlan wa sahlan. I'm Carrington Malin. Every day this week from Monday to Friday, Middle East AI News and AI Lunchtime Live from 𝗓𝗫's offices in Abu Dhabi Global Market from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time. During 𝗓𝗫 Presents AI Week, we'll be shining a light on how AI is being used today to improve lives, increasing efficiency, simplifying complex tasks, raising customer service levels, reducing waste, and making roads, buildings, schools, industrial facilities safer. During the course of the week, I'll be inviting leaders from technology, business, and education to talk about how AI is changing lives today, including representatives from 𝗓𝗫, Core42, Microsoft, HSBC, and Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence, and even more. Today, we've got three great guests. I'm going to be talking to 𝗁𝗓𝗵𝗏𝗍𝗍, Senior Director of Engineering at Inception. It is part of the G42 group. We'll also be hearing from Andrew Jackson, one of G42's very first team members, and now the group's new Chief AI Officer. And our final guest on today's show will be 𝗂𝗓𝗍𝗍, Chief Operating Officer of HSBC Bank in the UAE. So lots to look forward to then. And I look forward to introducing to our first guest, 𝗁𝗓𝗵𝗏𝗍𝗍, in a few minutes. Welcome again to AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by 𝗓𝗫 and Middle East AI News. We're streaming live from 𝗓𝗫's offices in Abu Dhabi, all this week from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time, and talking about how AI and AI technologies are being used today to improve lives, government, education, and business. If you're new to Middle East AI News Live, Middle East AI News is the top source of news and insight on how artificial intelligence and other cutting-edge technologies are transforming the Middle East. And we're delighted to partner with 𝗓𝗫 for the 𝗓𝗫 Presents AI Week. So let me tell you a little bit about 𝗓𝗫. Based in Abu Dhabi, 𝗓𝗫 is a leading big data analytics and AI company powered by Gen AI, tackling some of the 21st century's biggest challenges and helping to enable lifelong human advancement. 𝗓𝗫 combines the power of big data, analytics, and AI to catalyze information and identify new insights, allowing customers to solve challenges and create new opportunities. 𝗓𝗫, of course, is part of the G42 group and listed on Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, ADX, last year. It currently does business in 4 continents and last month announced new record results for the first half of 2025, with revenue topping 1 billion dirhams and more than 80% year-on-year growth in that first half. And if that sounds exciting to you, then make sure you watch this show tomorrow at 12 when I'll be interviewing Thomas Promoterden, the CEO of 𝗓𝗫. And we'll be talking more about those results tomorrow with him. If you just joined, you're listening to 𝗓𝗫 Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight Presents AI Week. And every day this week, we'll be shining a light on how AI is being used today to improve lives and discussing the technology behind the magic. You can tune in daily from 12 to 2 p.m. UAE time via YouTube and via LinkedIn. And you can find out all the details and links on the Presight Presents page on the website www.middleeastainews.com. That's Middle East AI News website, www.middleeastainews.com. And there you'll find schedule of programming for the rest of the week, information on guest appearances for the show, and links to the streaming online. And in a few minutes, I'll be welcoming our first guest, 𝗜𝗶𝗺𝗲𝗍𝗓. 𝗜𝗶𝗺𝗍𝗓 is Senior Director of Data and Machine Learning Engineering at Inception, a G42 company pioneering AI native products. With over 25 years of experience architecting and delivering large-scale data and AI platforms, he's built large-scale platforms and applications across industries and now drives Inception's mission to deliver domain-specific AI solutions for business impact. So that's 𝗜𝗶𝗺𝗍𝗓 coming up in a few minutes when we'll be talking about his role at Inception, what Inception does, and the company's product pipeline. Then at 12:30 or so, we'll do a quick rundown of the region's AI news headlines. And about 12:40, we'll be hearing from G42's Chief AI Officer, Andrew Jackson. And a little later, a little bit past 10 minutes past 1, we're going to be diving into how AI is transforming the banking sector with HSBC's 𝗂𝗂𝗍𝗂. If you just joined, you'll be listening to Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News. This is what airs every day this week from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time. And we've got a stellar lineup of guests for you this week. Just to mention a few, we're kicking off tomorrow's show with Presight CEO Thomas Promoteden. As well, we'll be talking to 𝗂𝗓 Taoufiq from Microsoft tomorrow, who is Chief Partnership Officer and driving the global partnership between Microsoft and G42. And this week, we're going to tackle a wide range of topics on how AI is helping governments deliver better and easier public services to their citizens, how AI is transforming the energy sector, the latest from Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence. And we'll be also talking to one of the AI startups that's enrolled in Presight's new AI Accelerator program. Now, later today, we're going to be hearing from Andrew Jackson, PhD, the new Group Chief AI Officer at G42. Andy's helping shape the Andy's been helping to shape the UAE AI landscape for years, and today we'll be talking about his work on responsible AI and G42's group-wide programs to make sure that their AI development is responsible. And also the ambitious UAE Stargate Hub, which Andy's working very hard on. If you want more details about Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live and a schedule for this week, you'll find all the information you need on the Presight Presents page on Middle East AI News. And again, that's www.middleeastainews.com. So let me tell you all about our first guest, 𝗜𝗶𝗺𝗍𝗓, Senior Director of Data and Machine Learning Engineering at G42 product first company Inception. Inception, of course, is a G42 company that developed the Arabic language AI model 𝗂𝗓 and is actually one of the first G42 companies to be established, beginning life as the Inception Institute of Artificial Intelligence. And these days, they're known simply as Presight. So we'll be talking to 𝗜𝗓𝗍𝗓 about how Inception's leveraging its R&D heritage to build a great lineup of AI native products and incorporating the latest cutting edge AI and taking that business globally. Yes, so moving straight on with that then. I'm going to introduce 𝗜𝗓𝗍𝗓, Senior Director of Data and Machine Learning Engineering at Inception. 𝗜𝗓𝗍𝗓 leads the data and machine learning engineering teams and drives the development of domain-specific AI applications across languages and industries. He has more than 25 years experience designing and implementing large-scale data and AI platforms across sectors. including finance, healthcare, aviation, government, and technology. And his career has taken him through PayPal, Accenture, Cognizant, now part of Accenture Federal Services, and leadership roles at AI startups before joining G42 in 2024. And over the years, 𝗂𝗓𝗓 has architected and deployed platforms leveraging computer vision, NLP, speech AI, LLMs, and generative AI. And obviously, now he's doing a great job at Inception. At Inception's his mission is to bridge advanced AI research with enterprise needs, helping shape products that can scale across the Middle East and beyond. So a warm welcome to Middle East AI News, 𝗂𝗓𝗓𝗄𝗓. 𝗂𝗓𝗓, please come join us.
Thank you.
𝗂𝗓𝗓, thanks so much for joining us today. Just to move your microphone over so that I'll move over here.
Is that better?
That's great.
Great.
So thanks again for joining us today. Great to have you here. You work for a very interesting company. So keen to dive into that and find out more about Inception, what it's doing these days. And this is one of the very first companies that G42 formed, and this was founded in 2017, and originally as a sort of service for the whole group in providing an applied research hub. And over the past year in particular, it's repositioned itself a little bit, and it's become more of a product first company. And recently we also had some announcements about Microsoft Azure products and products on Microsoft Azure. So lots to talk about. But I'd like to start first off with perhaps just in broad terms, what does Inception do these days? And how is it making that heritage pay in developing these new products?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me on. Really excited, glad to be here.
Great to have you here.
Yep. So let me first start off by saying that, obviously, as you highlighted, Inception used to be more of a research institute, started way back in 2017. And in fact, a lot of the work as kind of a research institute involved around really advancing in areas of AI, deep learning, computer vision. In fact, was one of the first groups to really start looking at large language models. In fact, before it became kind of a hype, with GPTs, right? So transformer-based models was explored, obviously, with different languages, specifically Arabic. So I think that evolution of how it started as a research institute, working with advanced kind of universities around the world as well, really helped propel it to where it's at today, right? So, and a lot of the R&D effort that's been done at the time is really translating to formative solutions at this time.
Yeah, I think we won't do this, but we could really talk about Inception for the next hour, couldn't we? Because it's done so much. Yeah. And then recently, I think most people were associated with the 𝗂𝗓 Arabic language, large language model. But there's much more than that even. So what is your role now at Inception, and how does that relate to what Inception's working on at the moment?
So my role is head of engineering. So what me and the broader team, what we do is we work on essentially product development. So we look at sort of our capabilities and look at bringing AI native products to the market, right? So that's essentially what we've been doing, and we can talk about a number of our products that are there available now. But essentially, that's what we do. So we look at a lot of our R&D capabilities. We do have an AI model factory. We do have, we do obviously work a lot with the research and development. But we're essentially taking that and bringing disruptive solutions into the market. And my team specifically, as an engineering team, works closely with our other functions to be able to actually bring this capabilities in.
And I've seen the description product first company used a few times by Inception, but it really belies the huge wealth of R&D talent that you have. So what does the team look like?
So look, we, again, as we've started as an R&D organization, that is definitely part of our heritage, part of our history in terms of, the areas of different fundamentals, frameworks of AI that we get into. And that's still sort of a focus area that we have, right? Obviously, in the age of generative AI, LLMs and agentic systems now, right? That R&D function, AI model factory function is quite critical to ensure that we can create sustainable kind of product solutions that are there.
Yeah, and you have a big team, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think we're continuing to grow. We have a team that has evolved, obviously, from the research days to what it is right now. And as an organization, we continue to grow. I think we're probably about, as an organization, about 150 people.
Wow.
We're definitely growing quite a bit, and yeah, and we're looking forward to it.
And I think 30 or 40 scientists. It's
at least I would say it's a bit more than that.
Really.
But
so it's huge capacity to develop new things and to integrate technologies and be at the bleeding edge.
Correct.
So there's a lot of history in developing AI models and recently large language models with the transformer architecture. So how does that help you design the new products and bring the new AI native products to market?
It's a good question. So, I think from my experience, right, 25 plus in the industry, and seeing it kind of evolve from, my days in traditional data and AI, with databases and statistics to big data and kind of the evolution that has happened. I think there's a paradigm shift that's happening in kind of how to leverage a lot of the more recent sort of capabilities, right, around LLMs and transformer-based architecture to agentic systems, right? So it's a paradigm shift of how we're applying this to the enterprise, and that's exactly what we're doing at the moment. So we're sort of bringing disruptive solutions, right, to the enterprise. And obviously that's easier said than done, but that's exactly what we're doing with these AI native products, is to bring those disruptive solutions. So our thought process is we don't want to necessarily replace existing systems that are there, but to sit on top, right, and leverage those systems like ERPs and databases and connectors, because that has a lot of obviously intrinsic systems that can be leveraged, right, and bring that to the enterprise, sitting on top, leveraging these capabilities.
Absolutely. And no disrespect to startups, but that's one thing that you can't get from an AI startup. They come up with some amazing new solutions and models, but you can't buy that enterprise experience. Right. And that R&D capacity to integrate it to enterprise grade, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we look at is essentially, how can we transform and kind of reimagine the enterprise, right? For example, we obviously do a lot of work in the enterprise space in terms of workforces, right? In areas of procurement and HR, and trying to transform that function to help augment the systems that humans use, right, to help them augment, right, as a companion, as a co-pilot. That's exactly the area where we're making, transformation and disrupting that, so that it's a new way of working and bringing all that automation efficiencies there.
Cool. And there's been several announcements this year already from inception about new products in the portfolio. And I know that you're working hard at developing more as well. And some of those are already available in the Microsoft Azure marketplace. So do you want to give us an idea of what that portfolio looks like at the moment? And
sure, absolutely. Let me kind of touch on some of our products, and then obviously with the Azure Marketplace, we're super excited about this initiative. It obviously touches broadly on the strategic partnership between G42 and Microsoft, and this was an opportunity for us to leverage the Azure Marketplace and bring a lot of our products as offerings there in the marketplace. Now, touching on some of our products, like I said, I think broadly, we are building products for the enterprise, meaning domain-specific solutions, and as well as enterprise sort of across the horizontal kind of chain of solutions to the enterprises, right? So if I talk about our enterprise solutions for the business, right, and that's to the workforces of procurement and HR. So procurement is a prime example, right? All organizations have procurement systems, right, that they leverage, and our product sits on top of those ERP systems and brings that essentially, authentic intelligence or augmented intelligence on top of that, that supports contract management, sourcing, supplier management.
I hadn't understood that. So your procurement product sits on top of the client's existing platforms.
Absolutely.
So it leverages what they have and then adds that extra value on top.
Exactly. And it augments a lot of what procurement analysts or users would be leveraging those existing systems, what we do is we come and augment that with agentic solutions, right? Automated workflows, planners, being able to understand the data, right? How to find information, how to analyze it, and how to make decisions. We sit on top of that, right? Because those systems are designed to actually make it efficient in terms of how it's organizing information. But we're there to kind of help take it to the next level, right?
And from a customer point of view, what might I have as a customer that I could put your procurement solution on top of?
I mean, I think just any kind of enterprise, right? So G42 actually as an organization is an organization where, from a corporate perspective, we're working with to support and transform how procurement, is leveraged from the workflows to the systems and, how to take it to the next level.
I was after some software names there.
Sorry?
I was after some...
Okay. So, I mean, for example, Oracle Fusion is one sort of ERP system.
Right.
I think you have SAPs, the big players is actually what we're working with to kind of build sophisticated connectors, right? So there's now frameworks and technology out there for us to be able to connect to that, right? And then leverage it for our solutions.
So that means these solutions are built for the world's biggest users of procurement.
Absolutely.
That's where you're aimed at.
Absolutely. And if I can touch on some other products, right? We talked about it, right? Because Azure Marketplace actually has 7 of our products that's listed there. And one other product is what we call Insight, actually formerly known as Board Observer. But this particular product is really geared towards executives, VIPs, and senior leadership. Essentially, it is, obviously they have various types of meetings and sessions that they held, right, at executive level. So board meetings, exec communication kind of meetings, comm meetings. And this particular tool allows essentially to basically prepare for those type of meetings with AI solutions. It allows us to have basically support strategic kind of decision-making within the meetings, provides those real-time insights, deep research type of insights to be able to help make informed decisions, and then post their meetings, it allows them to help make informed decisions essentially in terms of what next step. So it's the whole life cycle of exec kind of meetings and board meetings, being able to kind of provide solutions in all that space with our kind of capabilities. So that's one of the other products that.
And again, is that tied to a particular platform, or is that going to work across platform for?
No, I mean, that works across platforms, right? We're building data connectors across the space to be able to kind of help you ingest data and from various platforms. And this could be, again, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, to databases that are there that you might have content, to any kind of document repository. We're able to kind of connect up to that. And of course, there's other products we can talk about, but
well, please do, because we've covered procurement and the Insight product. What else is in the portfolio today?
We have in Alpha, which is our investment AI product. And of course, there is essentially taking vast amounts of, let's say, company portfolio data, right? So it's to really help disrupt the way, you would look at investing at organizations as maybe a kind of a investment institute, right? Being able to actually ingest vast amounts of company data that you might be looking at across the different portfolio of companies. And our solution allows you to do that, essentially sourcing, due diligence, kind of an IC co-chairman, investment committee co-chairman. We have various solutions that allows you to do that, right? So leveraging deep research capabilities, leveraging how that information is, kind of analyzed, searched, and found to be able to kind of make informed decisions across that life cycle. So that's in Alpha for investment AI. We also have basically what we're kind of incubating right now, what we're kind of working on is our in-media platform, which is essentially being able to analyze traditional media and social media, leveraging AI solutions, right? So imagine as an analyst, as an executive, you want to run a campaign and be able to kind of ingest all this vast amounts of data, analyze that campaign, and then have your agents or AI agents be able to do the analysis for you so that you get informed decisions at your fingertip, right? So the whole idea here is the efficiency is about time to market. So it's about, instead of, you as an expert or as a user spending a lot of time finding information, searching and analyzing, it's to help augment all of those capabilities so you can make decisions faster.
That's really interesting because you're also, another thing you're doing is you're democratizing the access to your technology, because in the past, that clever inception technology has been something that, G42 uses or other people use by experts and by the technology team and not by the end users, whereas you're actually now cascading a lot of products that are end user
Absolutely.
friendly.
Absolutely.
So you're building an agentic AI as you go, and everybody, of course, is talking about agentic AI and the impact on the organization, the impact on software and on user habits. What's your perspective now on where we are on that road, and what is Inception doing to maximize the benefit that user gets from agentic AI?
Absolutely. I mean, I think first and foremost, all of our products leverages some sort of agentic AI solution, right? And I think that is, as I said, that's the next evolution of how we help transform the enterprise that are out there in terms of the applications that they're leveraging or the tools that they're leveraging to help obviously bring that efficiency, right? And so with agentic AI, we are definitely in the cusp of looking at all of and then obviously the space is changing quite a bit, but we're constantly staying as part of our R&D and model factory efforts. We're staying in the cusp of ensuring that, we are in the bleeding edge, cutting edge of those capabilities. And so we look at different frameworks, different solutions like LangChain, AutoGen, CrewAI, these sort of frameworks that are there, and how we can leverage it for our purposes to bring basically high quality solutions, right, into our products, right? And of course, that usually requires a lot of iterative effort to make it work, right? Because it's not about just leveraging LLMs or saying here's an agent that does this. It's about looking at the entire kind of system and making sure that the infrastructure is set up the right way. It's scalable. The plumbing in terms of data connectors is organized and structured in a way that can be leveraged efficiently. And of course, there's a lot of AI solutioning that's done to ensure the pipelines are efficient to be able to actually leverage that in a larger system, right? So, and of course, then the whole things about responsible AI and guardrails and safety comes in, especially in enterprise products where there's a lot of potentially compliance and regulatory things that you need to kind of keep an eye on. So that's really important for us to do that. So it's iterative. We're definitely in the cutting edge, bleeding edge of that. And it's constantly evolving, right? In terms of new frameworks and protocols that are coming in, right? I think the whole idea is really, it's about how can we efficiently leverage data, obviously. How can we efficiently leverage tools, right? So data is obviously to get information context. Tools are to help, take actions, essentially. And then I would say planning is the whole, how efficient is the agent in terms of what it's intent to do for a solution, right? So it's designed to do certain X, Y, Z, or is it more specialized in this area? So a combination of those components are quite critical to ensure that the agent that you're developing or the system that you're developing is able to really transform the enterprise, right, for whatever solution you're building in, right? And that's definitely our goal, is to continue on that kind of bleeding edge.
Great. Without giving too much away, can you tell us anything about the pipeline and what we have might see in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think we're going to continue transforming in the enterprise space, right? Meaning, things that are essentially high, let's say, workflow-based, that are user-based kind of systems right now. We're looking to help really transform that space across the enterprise. Like I said, different solutions like HR, procurement, IT, where there's a huge opportunity for us to leverage existing workflows that are well-defined to be able to kind of, help bring that automation, right? And those kind of capabilities with our AI products. Now, I think there's another area where I would say areas where it requires a lot of deep research, deep analysis. Obviously, that's where a lot of the agentic solutions at the moment really shine, right? Because it allows you to analyze vast amounts of data, right? And as opposed to like the traditional days of searching and finding, still now, all that is essentially automated, right? That these agents can do and make those decisions and kind of bring those kind of insights to help make decisions quicker as well. Now, across our product portfolio we continue to enhance, right? So there's no target state. We're continuing to enhance it as new frameworks come in, as new capabilities come in. It's to really continue increasing the automation, the intelligence, and the, let's say, disruption of how we are doing work right now across the enterprise. We're constantly enhancing those, right? So I think in those spaces, and of course with our other domains that we're involved in, for example, in energy and investment and media, we're continuing to push the boundaries there.
So this is cutting edge stuff, and it's probably work that very few, if any other people are doing. How do you balance that against the risks and the challenges to responsible AI, security, ethics, like all of that package? We're just going to round off, but I wanted to ask you that.
Sure. No, this is very important and critical point, I think, and this is, we are experiencing this firsthand as we're building, deploying, and working with our customers, right? And I think so this area, what I call kind of largely an evaluation framework of our solution, right? So a lot of the AI solutions we have are based off of the fact that, we're leveraging cutting edge, transformer-based models like LLMs, and you're allowing a lot of autonomy there, right? And you're trying to mix deterministic with autonomic kind of workflows, autonomous workflows. And there, obviously, there's a high chance that the systems can hallucinate, right? Or can confidently give you a wrong answer, right? So in the areas of evaluation, which touches on, ensuring that we do it in a safe way, a secure way, and we do it in a way that we have rigorous QAing mechanism to ensure that we're confident in terms of what it's intended to do, what it's capable, and what it's not. We're definitely doing that, right? And we're also partnering with CPX, which is kind of our G42 cybersecurity organization.
Right.
We're partnering with them closely now going forward to be able to kind of join forces and then have these frameworks in place to be able to sort of responsibly develop and bring these solutions to the market, right? So that we meet those needs. So there are things around, again, guardrails, safety, evaluation, red teaming, right? To ensure that there's high quality expected outputs that we can measure.
Great. That's really interesting. Thanks so much for joining us today. Good luck with all the hard work.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
I've been talking to 𝗜𝗍 from Inception, and if you missed some of that, then you'll be pleased to know that there will be a replay on streaming on LinkedIn and on YouTube. Good afternoon. You're watching Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News, part of Presight Presents AI Week. And every day this week, from Monday to Friday, Middle East AI News is streaming AI Lunchtime Live from Presight's new offices in Abu Dhabi Global Market, 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time. We'll also be bringing you a daily news roundup of the big AI stories from around the region. So I'll just crack on with that now. Here is your news roundup for Monday, September 22nd. Saudi Arabia is hosting this week a high-level AI event at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Organized by the Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Authority in partnership with the Republic of Kenya and the UN. The event marks the official launch of the Global Dialogue on AI Governance, which will shape the international frameworks for safe and inclusive adoption of AI technologies, something that the UAE is also very focused on. Presight has just signed 2 MOUs with the government of Azerbaijan. ADX-listed big data analytics and AI company Presight has signed 2 memorandums of understanding with the government of Azerbaijan to support the country's 2025-2028 AI strategy. And the deal's going to deliver consulting, digital transformation programs, advanced AI tools across government, education, including AI tutors and teachers' assistants in the education system, plus large language models tuned to Azerbaijani language. And the hope is that this positions Azerbaijan for large-scale adoption of AI technologies in the future and really boosts that artificial intelligence strategy. Oman Data Park has invested in NVIDIA's H200 platform. Oman Data Park, which is located in Knowledge Oasis Muscat, is the Sultanate's premier provider of integrated cloud hosting and AI services. Has invested in a high-performance system with NVIDIA H200 AI chips. And of course, released last year, the H200 Tensor Core GPU is faster and has a faster and bigger memory to support intensive usage of generative AI, LLMs. And Oman Data Park is one of NVIDIA's first H200 customers in Oman. And in Abu Dhabi, NVIDIA and Technology Innovation Institute have just opened a new AI and robotics lab this morning. Global AI infrastructure leader NVIDIA and Abu Dhabi's Technology Innovation Institute opened an AI and robotics lab, which is the first of its kind in the region and will accelerate work on next-generation AI models, robotic platforms, and humanoid technologies that will support innovation across industries. So lots more to find out about that. If you just joined, you're listening to Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News. And now you have to give me a moment to find my place. Where am I? Okay. So in a few minutes, we're going to go to an interview with Andrew Jackson, Group Chief AI Officer at G42, or Andy to his friends. Andy's meeting with G42 stakeholders in Silicon Valley this week, but we managed to catch up with him remotely over the weekend. He was appointed to his new role as Group Chief AI Officer earlier this year, when he works closely with global and national stakeholders for G42 and helps G42 align capabilities with the UAE's strategic priorities. He also drives G42's responsible AI initiative and champions the development and adoption of ethical AI practices and responsible AI across the organization. He's one of G42's founding team members, and he's helped launch G42's core businesses and has led the development of 𝗂𝗓𝗄, the Arabic large language model first built in 2023. Before taking up his new role, he was CEO of G42 Inception, the group's applied research arm, and now native AI product developer. And Andy's career spans nearly 3 decades, from pioneering high-frequency trading strategies in Europe to building data analytics at Etihad Airways, worked with Palantir, and he holds a PhD in machine learning from Trinity College Dublin and has also studies at UC Berkeley, Oxford, MIT. Very clever chap. And we caught up with Andy remotely from his hotel in San Francisco over the weekend. Andy, thanks very much for joining us on AI Lunchtime Live, part of Presight Presents AI Week. Great to have you on the show. Really interested to find out what you're up to these days and your current role, and also what's the latest with G42. If I could start with just asking you to explain your role at the moment, your Group Chief AI Officer at G42 Group, which, as everybody knows, is a very fast-moving, dynamic AI company based in Abu Dhabi. We'd love to find out what's going on.
Oh, well, first of all, thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on with you as well today. Obviously, the new role is a big change. I was the CEO of Inception and now come to the Group Chief AI Officer. And that role broadens out the mandate that I have. Stargate is the future and the biggest part of what I'm doing right now, which is to work on the Stargate program generally. That is also working with OpenAI very closely, as well as the other stakeholders in the Stargate program. But besides that, I previously was working on responsible AI, and that continues. So I'm working on the responsible AI program. We've also launched earlier this year the Responsible AI Foundation, and that's another track that I'm actively working on, as well as the R&D. So really helping kind of drive the research and development part of G42's efforts in the artificial intelligence area to really kind of continue on the R&D track that we kicked off with Inception. And obviously to kind of broaden that out potentially across the group.
Well, you certainly must keep you busy.
for sure.
There's multiple roles there. There's been a lot of talk about responsible AI recently, and get a little bit of insight on what's going on there. You mentioned the Responsible AI Foundation. There was also, I think, some other announcements last year about responsible AI from G42. So it's definitely something that is a focus.
I mean, responsible AI and, essentially doing things the right way and following best practice in this space is a big deal. Even defining what this really is a huge piece. So suppose start off with the kind of internal function, responsibility function within the group. And we spearheaded this within Inception and defined this within one of the operating businesses, which I was leading before, and is now very well handled by Ashish Koshi as the CEO. And congratulations to Ashish on that new role as well. But essentially, we carved out processes and really defined those as kind of an incubator within Inception. And we're expanding that across. What does that mean? I mean, it really means kind of bringing in best practice. We've kind of worked very heavily with Microsoft. Microsoft is one of our key investors, and really we kind of partnered with those guys to really take on some of their best practices and bring them over and adapt them, because not everything was originally ready for us to use. So we had to adapt a lot of the kind of methodologies that we discussed with them. But also we kind of, because we do quite different things. We do kind of much more specialized pieces. For example, obviously Jace and the Arabic pieces that we did, a lot of the tooling that was put out there in terms of cleaning data, etc., was not really accessible or used because it didn't really work for the use cases that we had. So quite a lot of times we had to adapt the tooling, we had to adapt the processes and the procedures. And we really learned in the last year about how to really enact responsible AI within our business. So really the kind of next step in this is to really expand that program across the group, following kind of a hub and spoke model from that Microsoft used. We're going to do something very similar and have kicked that off already. So this is something that's going to be rolled out across the group in the next couple of months. I think we produced a transparency report, which kind of gives the full picture of where we are, which is good. This is something that we're going to continue in this vein and really publish what we're doing in this space within areas transparency, and really kind of drive this as a demonstrator for businesses across the Middle East, our partners, our customers, and really demonstrate a frontier position in this area. We signed up to responsible AI commitments, and we're really moving forward to actually implement and follow up on those commitments and deliver on those commitments now. I think we're in a good place. We released an AI safety framework earlier in the year as well, and we're going to continue kind of doing this and refining kind of responsibility and what it means for each individual sector. So we work across sectors, as you know, everything from oil and gas to healthcare. And really it's kind of defining now what responsible AI means for each of those sectors. And then also how to, not just what it means, but how to control it, how to implement responsible AI across these areas for, across the sister companies, across G42.
Sounds like great work, and also quite interesting illustration of the challenges that G42 faces. It's so big now, you have so many different companies active in so many different sectors, and that means that you have to be tuned into all of those different sectors in terms of responsibility, safety, compliance, everything else. I guess that's one of the questions that some people might have, is that when you have a group growing that fast at the cutting edge with the technologies that you have, how do you make something work across the whole group? So I'm guessing that this model is not the only one, the only case where you incubate something in one company and then cascade it out and try it in other companies and adapt it.
We learned from someone who really started this a number of years ago, which was Microsoft. Their business is very vast. They have a number of different business lines. So very similarly, we operate across a number of different business lines, everything from building data centers. How does responsibility apply to that, as well as to M42, our healthcare business? So really, it's a vast space. We start with principles, and then we move from principles into a framework, and we move then from framework into a set of consistent rules that really are applied to each business unit. And we follow a hub and spoke model where we have, a centralized unit that has a champion across each business unit. And that's how we really kind of formulate this. So we can have people in each business unit who champion this and also help us apply all the work that we're doing and also give us a feedback loop, right? We're learning every day. This is a whole new area. The technology is advancing so fast that we have to continually revamp, rethink, redo. Nothing is ever static. And also we have to plug into a number of other units within the business, enterprise risk, compliance, etc. So, there's a lot of comms There's a lot of education, training, etc. But really, we are on the cutting edge of this. The work that we're doing currently on kind of model constitution localization, for example, is absolutely cutting edge. No one else in the world has done it. So we are really at the bleeding edge of some of this work. We're working with extremely strong partners in the area. And again, we're forging a very new set of constructs that we'll be releasing, I think, later in the year. And I've seen more to come. But we are really genuinely on the bleeding edge. I mean, it's not coming out of nowhere. We've done so much work in the space through our early work on 𝗂𝗓 with the university and BZUAI, who have been a phenomenal partner. So, I think we're all learning. We're all kind of collaborating. The future really is a lot more to come out of the fruit of the work that we've done. Is going to be coming out later in the year. We're going to have an event in Abu Dhabi in November with Microsoft. And I think we're going to unveil some of the work that we've been doing and beavering away at behind the scenes. I don't want to give it all up today, but have definitely watched this space. There's a lot more to come.
Great. Can't wait for those announcements. So that's a fantastic example of how G42 is adapting and developing and keeping itself at the cutting edge internally. But then your biggest external project is Stargate.
Yeah.
And that's just staggering in its size to begin with. But then you've also got so many other factors to take into account there as well. So tell us a little bit about how that's being planned and put together.
Well, obviously, we had a very high-level visit earlier in May where this was announced. And obviously, we've kicked all this off now in earnest. Building is going on, construction is happening, chips are being designed, systems are being designed to kick off. I believe our first delivery of this will be early next year. I think it's all in full swing. It is a mega project, and with a mega project is mega responsibility. More announcement to come in the space, but we are actively working across the entire AI value chain to realize this. Everything from use cases at the end customer, all the way to building up the infrastructure to house it. And the infrastructure is obviously vast. So, we've also seen a massive uptick. I mean, we just saw the news yesterday, I believe, that of Stargate UK. So we are ahead of the pack, and we fully intend to stay ahead of that pack. But as I say, it's a vast undertaking. We're taking it, eating one piece of the elephant at a time, but it's a big task. It's a big project. And we definitely see it as kind of the future. This is the infrastructure that will run the future of AI in this country and obviously in this region potentially.
I guess the comment I've heard often is, despite the huge growth that we've got in demand for compute, and despite the huge growth we have in adoption around the region, there still is a huge amount of infrastructure to put in. How do you see that being delivered and used? And obviously, some of this is going to be modular, some of this is going to be phased. How's this going to work? Why are we not going to have overcapacity?
I mean, again, we're phasing it out, and I think there is huge demand, which is brilliant. I think that demand is going to increase. The current paradigm of prompt engineering will change over the next while with the agent boom that we're seeing at the moment and moving towards autonomy. We've certainly done a lot of research and work on this area, and we're productizing it at the moment through companies like Inception. What you'll see, I think, is the demand curve will actually increase dramatically because of this level of autonomy. It'll no longer be a kind of a prompt response pair. It will be an agent that is acting autonomously and producing millions of prompts per session. When you have something that's kind of thinking for you 24/7 and doing a lot of background work so you don't have to, that will really change the game in terms of compute. And as that kind of goes on and becomes exponential, the business model of this is changing as well. I mean, what we've heard from partners like OpenAI, their future plans are extremely ambitious. And, I think they're moving into, it's been well kind of publicized that they're moving more into the social media sphere. And I think this is going to, the underlying technology is going to create a whole new set of industries that are going to really drive this compute. And not just that. I mean, we're also seeing a lot of international interest. Maybe other countries, I think that will also encourage a lot more international cooperation around the infrastructure that we're building.
Yeah, agentic AI is certainly going to drive a lot of demand. And I think when a lot of people think about AI usage, particularly Gen AI usage, they're thinking about people on keyboards and the mobile phones. This wave of agentic AI is going to drive huge demand.
I do think that the device world is going to change quite dramatically. I mean, I'm here in San Francisco speaking to a number of companies who are really pushing on new devices. I think it's going to look at bringing out a new iPhone, a new version, which is going to really embrace generative AI. But also what we've seen in the media is, OpenAI are going in the same path, and obviously Meta with their glasses. Everyone's moving towards new devices, which again, I think are going to change the paradigm when you have glasses that are always on and feeding you intelligence at all times on heads-up displays, for example. I mean, this will change the way people live, the way people work, the way people engage in sport. So I think it's going to permeate every part of everyone's life. And with that, obviously, that drives that demand, right? So that's what we're building for. We're building for that future. And that future is coming thick and fast, right? That future is kind of really accelerated. I mean, when you look at the convergence of AI and robotics, which we're seeing as well as kind of a mega trend, this is going to really change the game, as well as embedding more AI into what is already kind of a computer on wheels, right? Cars. And we see this, the kind of tech race in the car industry and how that's going to change. I do believe that's going to change dramatically in the next 2 or 3 years as well. So a sneak peek of a concept car here in San Francisco. Self-driving cars are now all over the city. They're driving out to the airport now. These are unmanned, fully unmanned cars that are driving around. They're doubling every time I come back here, the number of these cars in the city and outside at this point. So I certainly see the future coming at a much more accelerated pace than I even expected myself. So I think that device and that kind of embodied AI, which is very well represented by one of our sister companies, Analog, led by Alexi, is really, we're again on the cutting edge of robotics and AI, and his team are doing an amazing job to really bring that trend and that next wave into the UAE and into the region. So I think 𝗳𝗏𝗪 is on the cutting edge of bringing that robotics next wave to our everyday lives. The self-driving cars in Abu Dhabi, when we've been testing out this area and bringing this kind of robotic car revolution to the region as well. Across 𝗳𝗏𝗪, we're pushing the boundaries on all of these fronts. So it's, it really does permeate a lot of society, what we're doing and the future that we're trying to realize.
Yeah, and the UAE certainly has a big appetite for cutting-edge technology. Yeah. The Stargates project's massive, announced in May. Can you chalk out what the roadmap is in the next few years? What are we likely to see? When we're going to see the first systems get turned on?
I think it's already next year. We're going to see the first waves. Yeah, it's going to be early next year. The first wave will get switched on. And I think what you're going to see then is subsequent waves being deployed. After that, we're starting off at a pretty big chunk of compute to kind of land in the country. And I think that's going to lay the foundation, and that's our first delivery. And that's going to really fuel a lot more of the use cases, a lot more of the adoption that we're going to see across the country. I think that wave of sovereign compute and also the size of the sovereign compute is probably going to be, a big driving force for the R&D that we're going to do, for the kind of deployment and adoption that we're going to see. Because I think that really does change the game in terms of having a sovereign cluster that is, really is going to empower UAE to do a lot more, but also empower partners, other countries around us, to really kind of embrace this and, use this as a stepping stone to kind of transform their own nations as much as we're going to transform UAE. We certainly see, we want to be a driving force for everybody else, right? I think it's been kind of well documented that we're working across many different countries, and we really see ourselves as really driving the global South or the global majority, that we can be that champion outside of the mega powers that can be a game changer for these countries and really provide them with the infrastructure that they need. Maybe we can talk about the R&D efforts.
Do you want to talk a little bit about K2 Think?
I mean, obviously, look, K2 Think is one of the latest releases, primarily driven by our partners in NBZ, which we worked very closely with on Jason. And, K2 Think is the latest, model, which is groundbreaking in terms of benchmarks. So I think, it's one of these models that, we're hopefully going to take from the academia and really kind of start bringing more out into a commercial setting. So I think that's going to happen, and that's something that we're actively working on as well. We're very proud that UAE is continually pushing the boundaries. I think Eric and his team have done a phenomenal job to bring something absolutely brand new, something that's completely cutting edge, punching above its weight. For the size of that model, for what it's achieving, is phenomenal. So again, kudos to the NBZ AI team, and again, pushing the boundaries with what they've done, and such an interesting kind of time to be releasing these models. We obviously a lot of models being released, so they've really kind of punched through in terms of the media as well. We really are proud of what they're achieving, and we expect to see a lot more coming again in the next couple of months. I'm sure there'll be a lot more to talk about as K2 continues, K2 Think, and I'm sure other models will come out. And we're also looking at another set of releases coming shortly, but that's for Eric and his team to really kind of speak to. But I do think that there's a lot more to come in that space as well.
I think we need to round off time-wise, but I wanted to ask you, you've been with G42 since the very beginning, and I believe that was at least at the beginning or close after the beginning, focused on research, that role. How do you frame what's happened, and what do you think was going to happen a few years ago? Is this much bigger than you thought, or is this what you expected to see in joining G42 and helping to build the company?
I joined G42 before it was even called. We even had the name G42. So I've been there from the beginning. And it was hard to imagine. I can remember the very early days with our group CEO who told us that we were going to be a global company. And it was very hard to imagine in those days when there was not much like indigenous technology. In fact, none came from a big American company or a series of big American companies in terms of technology. I always loved the idea and the kind of romance of a local company that really could operate at a global scale. And, I was very fortunate. I was just at the right place at the right time and, really was very fortunate to become part of the story from the early days. I couldn't have imagined going from where we are or where we were there then, pretty five guys in a villa trying to figure out what to do to being a global player. So I think that's been an incredible journey, and it's absolute credit to Peng, the group CEO. He really led this entire charge, and really he's been phenomenal. I don't think there's anyone like him around the world. He's a global force now, and I was very fortunate to know him before he was the global force. So I think that's where we are now and where we're going to go next. I mean, we're about to explode through the Stargate program into a much even bigger company. We're going to continue to push that frontier for the region and also just globally. We're really are on the cutting edge of the technology now. So I think that's super interesting for me, and I guess I'm going to focus a lot now on the R&D space myself. I'm going to go back to my roots of R&D in this role as well and help drive R&D across the group. And there's so much to do, right? It's almost overwhelming how many different programs there are to really push. And really the big question is, where do you place your bets? Technology, what frameworks? Because even in the last 2 years, since I took over the Inception role, how much it's changed. When we started this, nobody had a clue how to really use generative AI. It was a technology searching for a problem to solve. And really, we've taken that and said, okay, if we productize and make it clearer how to use this technology through products, then that would really move the needle. And that's exactly what's happened. And I think that's been a fundamental piece that I think, is kind of relatively new to the region of building products instead of running projects. I think that's something that's been fundamental. And I see that as continuing. It's going to be very interesting with the agentic piece and how that's going to affect technology in general. Similar to, I suppose, microservices in the kind of distributed system space that will really change the game in terms of how you define AI in terms of units of compute. So I think that is probably a next frontier about how agents are going to use work, how the frameworks are going to develop, how we're going to move into cross-framework work, how agent identity is going to really play out, discoverability of agents across platforms, across geographies like jurisdictions, how you work on compute budgets or resource budgets for agents. These are all things that are emerging right now. And these are technologies that are coming up super fast. And I think it's only going to get faster. We're using a lot more software engineering tools that are driven by AI. This whole space just seems to kind of keep ticking faster and faster. I'm meeting a lot of different companies here, colleagues and old friends here in San Francisco. And I think we all have the same conclusion, which is the only thing that's going to be true is it's just going to get faster. More development is going to come in the space. I think everyone's rushing into it and racing into it. I suppose at G42, putting back on my kind of responsibility I have, we're trying to do this the right way at all times and make sure that we have responsibility at the core of what we do. That is a big responsibility, this kind of technology, making sure that we do it the right way. Because I do look at the kind of parallel of social media, and I look at that and I'm a bit worried that we go down that path, the same kind of path of that. The power of AI is so much more powerful in general, right? There's so much more you can do with this technology. It really is a game changer. It really is a revolution. And, keeping that in mind, when you have that level of power coming in, you really need to put that correct guardrails around it. And I suppose, that brings me kind of full circle back to where we started to bring it back to, yes, we're going to do a lot. Yes, we're really pushing the boundaries. But, the good thing here, I think, is in this role that I'm playing, it kind of combines the future looking piece with the responsible piece, which really kind of, in some way, people ask me a lot, does this stifle innovation? Does all this kind of guardrails that you're putting in stifle innovation? And my response is always that it actually is kind of helping guide the innovation, right? You don't waste time because you put guardrails in at the beginning. As someone said to me, basically, if you want to drive really fast, you've got to have really good brakes, right? So this is why F1 cars have extremely good brakes. So you can kind of slow down really fast and speed up really fast at the right times. So this is the way we kind of look at this. Obviously, as someone who sponsors F1 cars like Mercedes, I think that's a good analogy for us to really drive extremely fast in the space. You do need to have the right guardrails in place, and I think again, in the coming months, you'll hear a lot more about what we're doing in that area and the groundbreaking work we're going to do for the enterprise across UAE.
Great. An apt analogy. Thank you so much for joining us today, Andy. It's been a pleasure, very interesting, and have a successful trip.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate being on.
This is AI Lunchtime Live, and you've been listening to my interview, or watching my interview with Group Chief AI Officer of G42, Andrew Jackson. And we were talking about G42's responsible AI program, the UAE Stargate project, and fast cars. And if you missed any of that interview, then rest assured you'll be able to watch it later. It will come back as a recording of this live show on LinkedIn and on YouTube. If you just joined us, you're watching Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, part of Presight Presents AI Week, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News. Every day this week, from Monday to Friday, we'll be streaming online from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time, and straight from Presight's office at Abu Dhabi Global Market in Abu Dhabi. During the Presight Presents week, we'll be shining a light on how AI is today improving lives today, increasing efficiency, simplifying complex tasks, raising customer service levels, reducing waste, and making roads, buildings, schools, workplaces, and industrial facilities safer. Earlier in the show, I was fortunate enough to talk with 𝗜𝗶𝗵𝗽𝗁, Senior Director of Data and Machine Learning Engineering at G42 product first company Inception. We talked about 𝗜𝗍's role at Inception, AI native applications, and how Inception's bringing its great wealth of knowledge in R&D and capability to product first solutions and deploying that globally through Microsoft Azure. We also heard from G42's Group Chief AI Officer, Andrew Jackson, who told us about the group's responsible AI program and how G42 is pioneering best practices and implementation on a group-wide responsible AI program that is also customized and fine-tuned for the individual group companies and sectors they operated in. We have a full week of great guests lined up for you this week, from G42 Group to HSBC, Microsoft, Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence, and more. And coming up next, we have 𝗂𝗂 𝗂𝗎𝗓, Chief Operating Officer of HSBC UAE. Jan leads operations across the UAE for HSBC Bank, of course, one of the most strategically important regional markets for the bank. And he has over 20 years of international banking experience spanning the UK, France, Germany, Egypt, and the UAE. He is responsible for driving operational excellence, digital transformation, and regulatory resilience to support the UAE's role as a global business hub. Let me also tell you a little bit about what's coming up during the Presight Presents AI Week. This week is a week full of programming organized by Abu Dhabi-based big data and analytics and AI company Presight. Each afternoon, you can listen to each morning you can listen to a special edition of Business Breakfast on Dubai Eye 103.8 FM from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every morning. Each lunchtime from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time, you can watch this show, AI Lunchtime Live, with Middle East AI News. And from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., you can watch 𝗂𝗓𝗄𝗓 radio, or listen to 𝗂𝗓𝗄𝗓 radio 109 FM, which will be continuing the AI week theme throughout the afternoon. And make sure you watch tomorrow's Lunchtime Live, when shortly after 12 noon, we'll be talking to Presight CEO Tummas Pramotedom, and lots of interesting things to talk about then. I won't give it away. Later in today's In Tuesday's show, we'll be talking to Sam Vaughan from Core42. Also tomorrow, we'll be talking to Microsoft's 𝗁𝗓𝗄𝗃 𝗁𝗃, who drives the G42 Microsoft Alliance. And Wednesday on AI Lunchtime Live, we'll be talking to 𝗓𝗏site Chief Operating Officer. We're talking to 𝗜𝗏 𝗟𝗨, CEO of energy industry-focused AI company AIQ. And we'll be talking to our favorite Aussie AI expert, Steve Norrie. So that's coming up tomorrow. Later in the week, we have great interviews lined up with people such as Alec Kipman, former lead developer of Microsoft HoloLens smart glasses program, and the new founder of Analog, and also Sultan Al-Haji coming up on Friday, September 26th, from Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence. So a full packed week for you on AI Lunchtime Live. And if you just joined, you're watching 𝗓𝗏site Presents AI Lunchtime Live, part of 𝗓𝗏site AI Week. And this program today, Lunchtime, is brought to you by 𝗓𝗏site and Middle East AI News. You can watch this via LinkedIn or via YouTube. And if you missed it earlier, there's going to be a recording available later this afternoon. Next, I'd like to introduce my next guest on AI Lunchtime Live. That's 𝗂𝗂𝗍𝗍 from HSBC Bank in the UAE. Of course, HSBC needs no introduction. London headquartered HSBC is the 7th largest global bank by assets. And it was also one of the first banks to open in the UAE. It used to be called British Bank of the Middle East a long time ago. And so we're going to switch to an interview that I recorded earlier with 𝗂𝗂𝗍𝗍, Chief Operating Officer for HSBC UAE. Jan was appointed COO of HSBC UAE in 2024. Taking on responsibility for operations in one of HSBC's most strategically important markets in the region. He's 20 years experience in international banking, having worked in senior roles in the UK, France, Germany, Egypt, and here in the UAE. And his current role, Jan leads operations, technology, regulatory and control teams, ensuring resilience, compliance, and operational excellence across HSBC UAE. And he's also spearheading digital transformation and innovation initiatives that are enhancing customer experience and streamlining banking operations, including a new partnership with 𝗓𝗏site to identify AI opportunities for the bank. We're going to be talking about a little about that. We'll be talking a little bit about that in the interview. Before his HSBC role, HSBC role, Jan led HSBC's corporate client coverage in Dubai and the Northern Emirates. And he's also served as COO of corporate banking in the UAE. So a very long time HSBC team member there. Jan's also traveling this week, so unfortunately we couldn't talk to him in the studio, and I talked to him via video call from Europe and about HSBC's focus on technology, challenges and opportunities presented by AI in the banking sector, and the HSBC partnership with 𝗓𝗏site. Jan, welcome to AI Lunchtime Live. Thank you so much for joining us for 𝗓𝗏site Presents AI Week.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Lots to talk about today about HSBC. The name's not new to anybody, but hopefully this is going to discover some of the things that many people don't know about HSBC. To start us off, would you mind just explaining what your role as a CEO entails and how that relates to our discussion on AI and technology?
Thank you. And yeah, I'm Chief Operating Officer, which in the world of banking touches a lot of aspects, mainly things that are not business related. So it ranges from operations, control office, regulatory reporting. And then there's a big part, which is what we call transformation. In the transformation place, we have all the things that are digital transformation and also more infrastructure transformation. And that's where the discussion with 𝗓𝗏site position, actually. The CIO piece sits outside of the CEO world, but we connect and we work very closely, as you can imagine, between COOs and CIOs in the bank, because everything we do is infrastructure, as we call it. A large part of infrastructure is IT, of course. But another large part of the infrastructure is anything that is related to the design of the processes and how the bank is running. So, and that's my accountability.
Great. It has to be said, HSBC is not a newcomer to technology. It's something that the bank always seems to be ahead on. Where does technology fit in HSBC's leadership, and how does it support that?
At the core, I mean, HSBC, like any bank, is a combination of a bit of real estate and less real estate, I would say, versus probably 20 years ago. So it's an infrastructure built of IT and people, basically. So in terms of where the technology sits, it's at the core of all the interaction we have with clients. It's at the core of all the interactions we have with stakeholders at large, regulators, etc. So we basically build on tech institution. And the role of technology is also evolving into, as the evolution of technology takes place, you have a lot of new applications coming in. At the time, there were applications around blockchain. AI now is more at the forefront. And we're trying to each time leverage the applications and how those changes in technology impact our clients, and also how it impacts the bank in our relationship with clients and regulators as well. So it's an ongoing engagement and discussion we have internally to make sure that we're always at the forefront.
And how has this new wave of AI technologies affected the way the bank looks at technology and it embraces technology? Is that a big step change, or is it taking it in your stride? Where does that sort of fit in?
No, we see AI as a core in change that will have long-lasting impact, and we cannot deny the impact it already has on our ecosystem. We see it with our clients and how they engage and how they expect to engage also with banks. So it's very important we are at the forefront. And then internally as well, AI carries a lot of benefits in some aspects, but also some risks and new things we have to look at. So every time a new technological application comes in like AI, which is, I think, very revolutionary, we have to respond and we have to embrace it. It's not just the response, it's really being engaged with the application and how that can benefit clients and how it can benefit the bank in its relationship with clients. And that's where we are at the moment.
And you're also doing some work with Presight. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, so we signed an MOU as part of the Emirates Institute of Finance, looking at application of AI in the customer space. So the real engagement with Presight was first is to leverage a local player that has a good history and an ability to deliver for a bank like HSBC in the market. We've got strong ambition in the UAE market. So we wanted to do some discussion and engagement with Presight on some application that benefit us and benefit our client base at large. And I must say that the engagement for now is going to start into tangible application in the coming few months that we're very excited about. And for us, it's also a way to make sure that we also, always at the forefront of the discussion on AI, and we look at areas where internally we potentially have less capacity or sometimes because of our infrastructure, we're not as nimble. So that's where we leverage a Presight, and our discussion have been very, very positive so far.
Fantastic. AI is going to touch a lot of different areas in banking, isn't it? So there's an impact on security, there's an impact on compliance, there's an impact on customer experience. How would you sort of assess how AI is helping HSBC and other banks in these areas? Is it compliance number one and security number one, or is it all moving at the same pace?
Yes, I mean, any application we put in place, we of course have to be compliant. There's no shortcuts in this. In some aspects, actually, AI helps the compliance, and there's lots of AI application that can help compliance. You look at some screening applications for payments, this kind of application, AI is already used by many banks, HSBC, but many others as well. But I think the key when you integrate AI into an organization like HSBC is really you need to think about what's the real benefit. What do you want to do? There's a lot of small application you could address with AI. I think for us the key is also to try to focus on the areas where AI actually delivers tangible positive outcome for us as an institution and for our clients as well. So the way we integrate is always in coordination with all the various functions we have in the bank: compliance, risk, IT, cyber, and making sure that everyone's comfortable, which I would say is a pre-step to any deployment in any case. We also have approaches that are sometimes a bit more agile, i.e. we sandbox applications, see the outputs, and then come the integration piece where the signs are in place. We test the cyber and so on in a second stage. So we have varied approach depending on the case and how deep the change goes into our infrastructure. If it's a very non-integrated sort of opportunity where AI is used and there's no integration in the backend system, the way we look at it is different than when we have full integration into our core systems. But compliance is at the core. And I think that's one of the key, I would say, challenge, that all banks have is how do you actually stay ahead of the potential risks that are coming with these new technologies. We've equipped people that have done many trainings and are now far more advanced than probably 10 years ago in those aspects. So the discussion levels we have are very mature now.
The banking sector is always under a lot of pressure, isn't it? It's under pressure of rising customer expectations, of increasing compliance and pressures on know your customer and changes in regulations globally, locally. Is there anything that's really been a huge imperative to force more adoption of AI and to look at new ways of doing things more effectively and easier?
Yes, I guess the societal expectation, our client expectation, customer experience expectations. And the way I see it for sure is that our clients are using AI applications day to day, and sometimes they interact with tech companies in other branches than finance. It's our role to bring this experience into the banking sector. So we're really on the watch of what's being deployed, the new technology, the applications, and we're exploring how generative AI and traditional AI can make banking more seamless, more responsive, and sometimes anticipating the needs of our clients. There are applications where AI can help us in that field as well. So also through the simplification of some journeys as well. We see it as a tool. AI is not an end in itself. It's how you integrate and use AI to the benefit of the clients and the organization in its efficiency. That's the key.
You touched on generative AI, and I know this is something that 𝗓𝗓 are building into all of their various platforms. And it's something that I've heard about a number of banks experimenting with, but I can't say I've actually seen anything on the outside that is showing generative AI characteristics. Do you think this is going to take time because of the regulated space that you're in, or are we much further ahead than that?
I think it's a matter of time, I agree. Now, the timeline depends on the application. I mean, of course, when you deal with a financial institution, trust is at the core, right? So we need to deploy AI, generative AI systems, or I would say recommendations that are compliant. We can't make any shortcut on that for sure. So I think that the deployment will depend on actually how the deployment is actually impacting the relationship. What does it do, really? You can have some generative AI applications that are internal. They are used by the bank in assessing options in terms of recommendations, as an example. And then you have a human that still is there to make the right recommendation for clients. I think if you look at the landscape of banks, this is where you see most of the generative AI applications being done. So still with a human step at some point. That's where you see the application being rolled out probably a bit faster. Where it takes time is if you want to automate the whole thing and have no human intervention in between, where you need to have a bit of a model assessment, whether the outputs are fair and always correct or 99% correct. And I think we're in that middle phase at the moment in the banking industry.
And now with the rise of agentic AI, that adds another opportunity and another challenge.
Yes, agentic AI will take it a step further, I guess, in terms of the output that could be generated from requests from clients. Agentic AI also has a big efficiency gain internally as well, in terms of instead of connecting systems together, then you have those AI agents that actually source the information and then summarize information and then directly take actions. But agentic AI is not ready yet completely in terms of what we see in the market to be deployed as it is. Now, it's very difficult to know for how long it will remain in that stage, but as it is today, the application we're looking at are either traditional AI, but agentic AI, I mean, we're more looking at it and trying to assess what could be an impact and what could be the journeys in which they would have an impact or they would be useful. But yeah, it is a bit early in the day.
And I wonder, does the location, you're in the UAE, and the rules and regulations here, does that impact your AI adoption in any way, or the plans you have for AI adoption, or is it pretty much the same as you would be planning or expecting in London or New York?
No, so it's a good point, because everywhere we operate, we have to, of course, follow the rules and regulation of the local market. As an international bank, we have also lead regulators, basis where we are also listed. So we have to comply with those regulators plus the local regulators. The fact that you're based in the UAE and how you deploy AI in the UAE versus in other markets, I would say the regulatory landscape here is maturing very, very fast in terms of the applications. It falls more into the model management side of things in the UAE, which I think is the right place. I can see a good level of understanding and also anticipation from the regulator in terms of anything that touches AI and how banks are using it. We have to engage with the regulator in any application that we do that would have an impact for sure.
Do you have a sense of what the impact felt by some of these new AI initiatives will have on employees and customers, particularly in the UAE? We have a huge amount of positive sentiment about AI and an expectation that AI is going to start to fix everything. I'm going to have it in my hand very soon. How lucky will those people be? Will they see something very soon, or you think the benefits are going to take a while?
The benefits, I think people will start to see it very soon. The difficulty is sometimes as a customer is to detect where the financial institution will be using AI or not. In some cases, you want to make a seamless interaction and something that is frictionless. So if I take as an example, payments, you're basically submitting a payment. What you expect is that payment goes through and is credited on the other side as soon as possible. The fact that there would be an AI application into that payment journey, you won't necessarily notice. So I think that there's lots of application where customers would not even see that there is an AI application, even internal processes in banks in some cases, or how things are done. So I don't think it would be that easy where people can identify, I can see that actually AI is being used. Personally, I think the less it is visible, i.e. the payment flow or the interaction with the bank is seamless as it could, I think is an end state. The technology we use to achieve that, AI or being traditional technology, I think in a way it doesn't matter too much. In a way, AI is there to enhance the customer experience, in my view, make the processes more efficient, for sure. But from a customer point of view, I think these are the guiding principle when we will deploy AI, not that clients feel that we are using AI. I think that will be the wrong outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. So you obviously have a fascinating job and have enthusiasm for that. What excites you about our new AI era?
I think I was fortunate enough to start working in the banking industry early 2000s when internet was starting to become a big thing. And I think this phase reminds me of that phase as well. You have cohabiting within the industry people that will have to take the thing forward for a long time, and actually things will change, the scale of which is difficult to understand today, I would say. We know it's going to have an impact, and we can feel already that it does have an impact. The exciting piece is how big will that impact be, and how can we embrace it, and how will the interaction with clients and with the banking industry be facilitated through those new technologies. It is an exciting area to be in, for sure. Of course, it raises also some concerns. So it's also to make sure that actually when we do deploy those technologies, at the core, the trust, which is the foundation of banking is there and remains. The solidity of the system is protected. The trust of customers is well placed, and that the safeguarding of the financial industry is still intact. The technologies are there to assist that and potentially to enhance the customer experience. But at the core, we need a resilient model for the industry, for clients, for stakeholders at large. So I think the exciting bit is how AI will also help invest. So it's easy to sometimes take shortcut and say those new technologies, they introduce new risk, but they also introduce a lot of benefits. If you look at the introduction of the internet in the communication space has revolutionized a new things. It created new risk, but also eliminated a lot of others, right? So AI, I think this technology in itself is not good or bad. It's the application really that matters.
I agree entirely. Jan, thanks so much for being with us today and joining AI Lunchtime Live. Presight presents AI Week. Have a great day.
Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day. Bye.
Good afternoon. You're watching Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News, part of Presight Presents AI Week. We've just been listening to my interview with 𝗂𝗓𝗡𝗖, Chief Operating Officer for HSBC in the UAE. AI Lunchtime Live will be here every day of this week until Friday 26th. So hoping you'll tune in to our upcoming shows where we'll be talking to guests from Analog, AIQ, Microsoft, and Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence. And don't forget, just after 12 noon tomorrow, we'll have 𝗓𝗏 CEO Tummas Promoteden with us to tell us more about 𝗓𝗏. Every day this week from Monday to Friday, Middle East AI News is streaming AI Lunchtime Live with 𝗓𝗏's new offices new offices in Abu Dhabi Global Market from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time. And in case you missed my roundup of Middle East AI News headlines earlier, here's a recap of those. Saudi Arabia will co-host a high-level AI event at the United Nations General Assembly this week. Saudi Arabia will co-host the high-level discussion on AI governance at the United Nations General Assembly, organized by Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Authority in partnership with the Republic of Kenya and the UN. The event marks the official launch of the Global Dialogue on AI Governance, which will shape the international frameworks for safe and inclusive adoption of AI technologies. And the global dialogue actually takes place in 2026. 𝗓𝗏 has signed 2 MOUs with the government of Azerbaijan. ADX listed 𝗓𝗏. I lost my place. I'll begin again. 𝗓𝗏 has signed 2 MOUs with the government of Azerbaijan. ADX-listed big data and analytics company 𝗓𝗏 has signed 2 memorandums of understanding with the government of Azerbaijan to support the country's 2025-2028 national AI strategy. And the deal will deliver consulting, digital transformation programs, and advanced AI tools across government and education, plus local language AI models, positioning Azerbaijan for large-scale adoption of AI technologies and moving the national AI strategy forwards. Meanwhile, Oman Data Park has invested in NVIDIA's H200 platform. Oman Data Park is located in Knowledge Oasis, Muscat, has invested in new high-performance system using NVIDIA H200 AI chips. And of course, released last year, those chips are faster, bigger, and support intensive usage of generative AI, LLMs, and model building. And I believe that Oman Data Park is one of the first NVIDIA H200 customers in Oman. And meanwhile, NVIDIA has been busy, and in Abu Dhabi, NVIDIA and Technology Innovation Institute have opened a new AI and robotics office new AI and robotics lab in Abu Dhabi. Global AI infrastructure leader, NVIDIA and Abu Dhabi's Technology Innovation Institute have opened an AI robotics lab, which is the first of its kind in the region. It will help accelerate work on next generation AI models, robotics platforms, and humanoid technologies that will support innovations across industries. And if you just joined, you're listening to 𝗓𝗏 Presents AI Week, and this is 𝗓𝗏 Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by 𝗓𝗏 and Middle East AI News. And that's just about all we have time for today in today's show. We're just going to finish a little bit earlier. You've been watching 𝗓𝗏 Presents AI Lunchtime Live, and each day of the week will be shining a light on how AI is being used today to improve lives, and government, business, and public services, and discussing the technology behind the magic. You can tune in daily from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time via YouTube and via LinkedIn. And you'll also find the details and links for 𝗓𝗏 Presents AI Lunchtime Live on the page of our website, www.middleeastainews.com. It's middleeastainews.com, www.middleeastainews.com, easy. And there you'll find schedule of programming for the rest of the week, information on guest appearances that's going to be updated daily for each show, and links to the streaming on LinkedIn and YouTube. And also on www.middleeastainews.com, of course, you'll find the latest AI news from across the Middle East and North Africa, our weekly news digest that goes out Thursday mornings, and our daily news minute which has a roundup, 60-second roundup of the news headlines from around the region every morning about 6 a.m. UAE time. And you've got a choice of getting that on email or watching it or listening to it on your favorite streaming app like Spotify or Anghami. Thank you so much for being with us today on the first AI Lunchtime Live, on the first day of Presight Presents AI Week. And looking forward to seeing you tomorrow and tomorrow's show from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time. Have a great afternoon.